Today, I've got a guest that is undoubtedly one of the most courageous, resilient, compassionate, and inspirational people out there. I'm forever surprised and grateful for the information, the honesty, the authenticity that she puts out, her determination to show up every day, to be her best self, to be strong, to do the things she wants to do in life, even if feelings, emotions, life has pulled her back in some way, I think is testament to her warrior spirit. She's a mother, she's a public speaker, she's a co founder of her daughter's foundation, she's a social media influencer, a successful brand ambassador, and I think she's always overlit by her lioness energy, which her and her daughter Azaylia hold in bags between them. I'm so overly honored to welcome today Safiyya Vorajee and her daughter
Oh,
Azalea, who's
thank
with
you
us.
so much. What a
You're
beautiful
welcome.
introduction that was. Thank you so much. Honestly, as you were speaking, I was just like, oh my gosh, my heart was like,
Oh,
oh my God, this is so lovely. Thank you so much for having me here today. Honestly,
you're
like
welcome.
just even speaking to you just briefly, just before we've started, like the energy that you're bringing is just amazing. And you should be so proud of yourself for what you're
Thank you.
doing.
Thank you. So it's August. We're towards the end of August. It's a big month for you. Your birthday, Azalea's birthday. I watch you, follow you all the time, and I know it's been a very up and down month in terms of feelings, emotions, understandably. And I think I just want to today kind of explore all of that with you, understand how you keep going the way you are because I think you're such a beacon of hope and light and strength to so many people out there going through similar things or just going through their own version of hard things in life. And I think it's so important for people to kind of understand how people do it, what goes on in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit to really kind of keep you going in the way you do. So I really want to explore that and obviously you, like who you are, your journey, and yeah, and get into it. So
Okay, thank you
yeah.
so much. So, like, we'll start from like the initial stage of me coming and getting into a relationship with Ashley. Both of us was like really good friends, and we've had a very, very deep, amazing relationship. To the point where we decided to have Azalea, and we could not have been more happier for the news of that pregnancy test. Like it was absolutely phenomenal. We explored so much in terms of conversations and wondering, is it the right decision? As a woman as well,
Yeah.
choosing that man to have your child with, for me, it was such a significant moment.
Yeah.
And he didn't fail me. Like he was amazing. And we really and truly bonded so well together. It was actually him that was initiating to have a child first. So
Mm,
normally it's the other way around, women
yeah.
we're looking at our biological clocks thinking, like, oh my gosh, like we need to. But the beauty of it is that we truly made the right decision, and our friendship turned into a relationship that made us turn into first time parents together. So that beauty was just and will always be so special to me. um Obviously going through pregnancy and things like that is like the first time of feeling the baby move, or it's like,
Yeah.
for me it was like popcorn, it was like little pops in my stomach. So it was enjoying the moments, but going through COVID as well and being
Mm,
pregnant was a really difficult thing. So for me, at the initial stages, I felt like, oh, I was being it got taken away from me from going out and shopping. You know, for me, I love shopping. It's my downtime. And I was excited to go out and get like the cart and the pram and the clothes and all of these beautiful things. And I love fashion. So I just wanted her to have like the headband matching and things like
Coordinated,
that.
yeah.
And I didn't get that opportunity to be able to
Mm.
do that. However, I was shopping online. So everything was just very different, not
Mm.
understanding the right buggy to get. So I was then seeking advice from family members of which is the right ones. And
Yeah,
there's 3-in-1 things, and that one does that, and that one's got springs on it. And I didn't have a clue of what to get.
yeah,
Um, so that journey for me was really exciting, but I was educating myself so much at the same time. And so was Ashley. And, you know, we'll fast forward time. I'm now at a point where I'm giving birth to Azaylia. It was amazing and very, I don't know what the words to get. It was very scary. Like for
mm,
me, I was like, oh my gosh, like now it is time.
yeah,
Like for the first time of ever like giving birth, I'm thinking, what is going to happen? So for me, I had an epidural. Unfortunately, 30 minutes after, it didn't work for me. So me and Ashley was on gas and air. He was even stealing the gas and air off of me. I was just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? There was 1 minute I had it, and the next minute he had it. So we was even still at that point of going through
yeah.
childbirth. Our relationship was just always just fun and banter. It was so
Oh,
good. And you know, I had to have an emergency C-section. It was just, I was like 1 centimeter away, and it just wasn't happening for me. So it was an emergency C-section. And then to the point where Ashley and I was in theatre now, and they was talking to me and saying that they might have to sedate me because my body was going into shock. I was literally shaking so
mm,
much. They was going to have to put me to sleep to be able to give birth, which then meant Ashley weren't going to be able to come in to the room when I'm sedated.
yeah,
But I did. I dug in. I was like, they are not taking his opportunity to like welcome his daughter into this world. Like it's not happening. And I remember just being like bolted and trying to hold, like my butt was tense, my legs at the bottom were
oh
tense,
no,
my hands were like tense, and I was just, and I did it to the point where I was like he was outside in the corridor and they wouldn't let him in until I was chilled, because I'd had
right,
so much gas and air, and then I'd
yeah,
had the what was it called again? It's gone out my head.
the
The
epidural,
epidural.
yeah,
My body now is just going into a state where it's just
right,
shaking.
jittery, yeah,
But I did. I held it down, and we welcomed our beautiful girl into this world at like 6:56, £7 10. And Ashley went and cut the umbilical cord. I was on lying on the bed, obviously cut open, and I was shouting through the corridor, Ashley, cut the umbilical cord. So like even
yeah,
at them points, I was always so mindful, you know, like for Ashley having that beautiful experience, me
yeah,
also making sure that even in them points where I'm like, ooh, shaking, cut open, that everything was as beautiful and we didn't have like no regrets in what we did. So
yeah,
yeah, it was just such an amazing experience, as well as it being painful.
yeah, yeah,
um there's no awards for you doing it without either. Like I just think in the moments you have to just do what's right for you as well,
mm,
and you get opinions of family, and so did this, or she didn't have epidural, or she didn't have gas in her. Do you know what? Like, put that and park it up. Do what's right for you. I always say that to
yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
Oh, but so did it. And like, will I be, am I not as strong if I don't do it? I'm like, when you're in the moment, girl, you're going to be
I know.
screaming for it.
Literally, I think I screamed all the way through mine. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so,
like it's not easy.
yeah,
I take my hat off to like any mother out there,
mm,
or anybody that's had to give birth, and really and truly it's something that, it's so beautiful, like so
mm,
much that we put our bodies through in 9 months. There's so much that women really take on,
yeah,
that we should be proud for. And, you know, after taking Azalea home, the families all came together. We had so much fun. It was just pouring. And obviously Azaylia was born in August, which was the 10th. So she's a Leo, she's a
Yeah.
lioness.
Yeah.
And then my birthday was 5 days later, which is the 15th. And as you were saying at the start, you know, August is a difficult month for me.
Yeah.
I feel choked because she was born and that was the most amazing time of my life. And I'm feeling these so raw
Yeah.
right now because we are
Yeah.
literally in August. And the best moments that I had was motherhood, of like becoming a mom is the best title, no matter what title I've got out there now or before. Being a mom to my hero is the best. And you know, taking her home, enjoying all of this family time together was just so beautiful. That radiance and that energy that pours through, like you will never feel that feeling until you're in that moment. And I
Mm.
believe what any woman and any man has said to me out there, that it's like until you become a parent, you will never experience true love.
Yeah.
Um, and that's
Yeah.
significant for me. And that now compares and holds so much weight with what I'm doing in my life. Obviously, you know, we're forward in time, literally 6 weeks, 6 to 8, 6 weeks. I started noticing Azalea had blood in her nappy. Doctors were telling me it's normal, she's a newborn. Then it was colic. Then it was um, swelling of the tummy. And then it was all of these different symptoms that started happening, thrush on her tongue, that they were saying, it's all normal, it's all normal, it's all normal. And I'm thinking, as a new mom, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that babies like literally needed all this thing. Then she
Mm.
couldn't go to, she weren't like pooing in her nappy. And then they was giving me laxatives to put in her bottle, because she was actually breastfed, and then they were saying, oh, maybe she's not getting enough milk. So then I started putting her,
Right.
I just started doing both and topping her up. And then it was really to get laxatives. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like, poor
Yeah.
baby. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, to the point where one day I'm changing a nappy and notice a bruise. And me having medical background
Yeah.
of being a dental nurse, I noticed when there's a bruise, there shouldn't be a bump underneath the bruise. I ran my finger across the nappy, across her stomach, and felt a bruise. Then
Okay.
we fast forward, we're
Yeah.
catapulted into hospital, and we've been told that Azalea's got leukemia. She's got childhood cancer. Then we've been tumbled and thrown into Birmingham Children's Hospital, to a point where 8 weeks it was till she was 8 months. We was in hospital for 6 solid months in Birmingham Children's Hospital. And I need to say that they are absolutely phenomenal, the way they looked after it and cared for us as a family through COVID and lockdown as well. Like myself and
Mm.
Ashley, Azalea's going through rounds and rounds of chemotherapy. And we're not allowed to be in the room at the same time. So we was actually co-parenting at that time.
Right.
And it was really difficult, you know, for myself, for Ashley, him being the first time
Yeah.
dad, me being first time mom, and having to hand over as if it was like a rotation. It was just a really difficult time. But for us, Azalea had got through so much. She fought through so many battles, and she became one of the top people in the UK to, I don't know whether it's the world or the UK. I need to actually find that part out. But she got over 80,000 people on the donor register in one weekend.
Wow.
And it was absolutely phenomenal because we got told that she needed to go through transplant.
Right.
And we've been told that she wouldn't make it. And the obstacles that we continued to keep facing within that 6 months journey was just horrific for any parent, let alone for Azalea at
Yeah.
her age, going through so much. But you know what? We kept digging in and we kept digging in and we kept digging in. And we got sent home on end of life care for her. And that is and will be forever. Like, I don't know what I've got ahead of me, but that will
Mm.
be the hardest steps that I've ever had to take. And
Yeah.
that is being told that there's nothing more that we can do for
Yeah.
your child. Um, we fought so much. We went to explore so many different avenues to try and get her treatment in Singapore, which we had to set up a GoFundMe for. And within 3 hours, Azalea had raised over £1 million. And that just shows how powerful that little girl
Mm.
really
Yeah,
is. And
yeah,
I'm so proud of her. And that took us to a point that when we did lose Azalea, it was left to really consider what it is that we wanted to do with them funds. We left our
right.
GoFundMe open for quite some time for
Yeah,
people to withdraw any money that they'd put into it. And then after a period of time, then it's making decisions of like, what is it? And of course, we couldn't do anything other than set up a charity called the Azalea Foundation in honor of Azalea to continue to help children and families fighting against childhood cancer.
yeah. I think it's so heart-wrenching to hear and know the story and read about it, but the way you both all three of you actually, you did your thing without knowing, and you turned such a painful experience into something so powerful, so inspirational, so leave it already, even without before you set up the foundation, already she had a legacy, that you'd both kind of worked together all three of you, and she was doing her thing and overcoming all those obstacles. And I just think it's such a story of hope. And I know it didn't go the way anyone would have wanted it to go, but those 8 months that you had her, that could have been 2 months. It could have been a lot shorter, and I think what you poured in, and what the strength and the tenacity she had to just keep going, is such a testament to what you have inside of you, what she had inside of her, and that willingness to keep
Yeah,
living.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I almost feel, and I do, I don't know if anybody out there that's listening to this knows that when you give birth to your child, you continue to carry the cells of your child in your
Mm.
body. And for me, that is something that I hold so preciously because sometimes I don't even know where I get the strength from. But then when I deep it and I truly think about it,
Yeah.
the cells of Azalea are still within my body,
Yeah.
to radiate. So I almost feel like I need to keep showing up. I need to keep enjoying these things. I need to keep um, delivering purpose into this world because
Yeah.
she is still in
In
me.
you. Yeah.
She's still in me, and I'm carrying her through life. I'm taking her to all of these places.
Yeah.
I'm showing up because she taught me to show up. As much as you think a parent is there for a child and you're doing the most for your child, it
Mm.
was actually the other way around. She was keeping me going
Yeah. Yeah.
until I lost her. And
Mm.
then I'm in the pits of, where I don't even want to be here anymore. Like,
Yeah.
how do you want to stay on this earth when your child is no longer here? Like, grief hits you instantly. And for how busy I was from giving medications, um, feeding, all of these things that required 24/7 of my time
Yeah.
to then suddenly nothing,
Yeah.
like I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
where
tough.
it's been this journey now where I've really had to dig in. I was either going to sink or I was either going to swim. But one
Yeah.
thing that I always taught Azalea, and even if she didn't understand and she was a baby, is keep believing. That's why I always play Whitney Houston, When You Believe,
Yeah.
because that chokes me even saying it. But it's like you have to continue to keep believing
Yeah.
because at the end of losing somebody, you have no faith. At the end of everything, I just thought, wow, what is left in this world? Like, I'm praying, I'm doing the best I can. I'm speaking all of this into existence. Like, since I was younger, I've always been like spiritually aware. So I'm speaking all of this goodness into existence. And suddenly there's nothing. I'm like, wow, it's all been a lie all these years,
Mm.
to the point where I started seeing orange skies. Orange represents
Yeah.
leukemia, and that was the color that we have with Azalea. Then we started seeing big electric rainbows. And it was her again that made me visualize and see law of attraction.
Yeah.
Keep believing,
Yeah.
keep believing. You've got orange skies, we've got rainbows. They're just appearing outside my house.
Yeah.
Feathers are just landing it like
Yeah.
in front of me when they weren't before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, okay,
Yeah.
this is my next leash of life. And I'm showing up and I'm delivering it. And I'm going to carry you with me on this journey. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
And I just think that is so powerful to be open to seeing the signs and understanding them. You know, I was watching one of your lives recently where you were in her garden, and I think it was on your birthday actually, and there was a ladybird,
It was her back.
and it had so many spots on it, and it represented your age or something like that.
It
And there
was
was
hers and mine, that
yeah,
was. It was
yeah,
hers, it was her 4th birthday
yeah,
on the 10th, and I sat there on her bench,
yeah,
and this ladybird landed on me, and if you know me, I am that person that anything lands on me, I'm like, "Ooh." And this ladybird landed on me, and I
yeah,
looked, and I thought in my head, I wonder whether, imagine that has 4 spots, like, that would be
yeah,
just so bizarre. Because just before that, I'd seen another ladybird, and I counted the spots, so I counted it. It was only a black ladybird with
right.
orange spots as well,
Oh,
and there was
right,
4.
yeah,
And
that's
then on my
amazing.
birthday,
Yeah,
obviously, we couldn't count all of my numbers. I'm 37, and there was 7 spots on it
yeah.
altogether. But then on one side there was 3, so I'm like, there's
Oh.
37.
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
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 so that's what
yeah. And
happened.
I just think that's I do on I signs, synchronicities, all of that. I think it's the universes, gods, you know, and the people who've left us. It's their way of communicating with us. And I think it's so heartwarming when you get it. It kind of touches you in a place nothing else does it?
It
And
gives me
it's
fuel to carry on that day.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
really does. On her
yeah,
birthday, especially, I was just like, I know there's going to be a sign today, and I
yeah,
wonder what she's coming. In my head, I'm like, I wonder what she's coming to bring today.
yeah,
And then when it was the ladybird, and it's normally we see a red ladybird with black spots.
yes,
This
yeah,
is a black ladybird with 4 orange spots
yeah.
on her 4th birthday,
Orange.
sitting
Yeah,
at her garden.
yeah. That is pretty miraculous, really. And when you talk about sort of that feeling of not wanting to continue, I can relate to that to an extent. I didn't go through what you did. I lost babies. I lost pregnancies, I should say, and every time I did, I felt I felt exactly like that. Like you kind of start planning your life with your baby the moment you find out you're pregnant, don't you?
Yeah,
It's not the
absolutely.
moment you have them. It's
Yeah.
kind of whilst they're in you and you're feeling them. And I remember just starting to do that. And my first pregnancy, I lost that baby about 4 months in, and I went through like a it was horrific because I think my body hadn't been through it before. So I went through like a 2-day effectively labor process, and by the end of it, I think the trauma of that happening, and it was awful because I'd been planning in my mind, you know, this having this baby, and eventually the way it happened, it was like there was so much blood loss. There was I literally had to just be in the bathroom and then flush that baby away because there was no other way of doing it. And I remember feeling like the worst mom in the world because before they get to a certain point in time, you know, you don't see your babies, you see them on scans and stuff, but they're not recognized as babies. But in I think as a mum, you kind of see them as a baby straight away.
Instantly.
Um, and I remember looking down and seeing parts of the baby, but having to just flush it away. And it was just horrible. And I think the trauma of that, then I remember just feeling logically the next day, I have no reason to be here and I have no right to be here.
Mm.
And it just felt, I don't know, it just felt wrong to to exist because, um, like you say, being a mother is one of the biggest and most special things in the world. And I, you know, really wanted this. So yeah, I can relate to that. And I think, you know, people out there going through whether it's miscarriages, whether it's kind of further down the line, or some people have a baby and, it's kind of gone within days. It's such a heart-wrenching thing to go through, but what I admire about you is how, even when you talk about it now, the birthing process, which I know is hard, beyond hard, but you're so grateful for it, and it's
Mm.
that gratitude of, that attitude of gratitude, I should say, that you've got, which I think is so uplifting, and it keeps a positivity in there of whatever you've gone through, even the I'm sure the hardest
Yeah.
times with Azalea. Um, so I think that's part of your magic, like your inspiration to people, however hard it seems at the time. And you don't see it, you don't feel the gratitude at the time. You don't, because you're just going through the motions, and you're probably hating it if it's really difficult. But with hindsight, I think
Mhm.
there's some purpose there. There's some
Yeah,
learning.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
like to hear that and to know that you've also gone through that with so many people that are probably going to be watching and tuning in is they that moment when you're in them moments, it's you guys as well that I admire. Like sitting here, I feel choked again, trying to hold it together and like actually have a conversation is so difficult. But to know that you've also gone through that is so it teaches me so much as well because it's as much as you look at me, I use my voice and my platform for what I use it for, but to hear your story, your journey, as well as so many other people's stories and journeys, and just even DMs that I get, it's
Yeah.
just like you guys actually inspire me and keep me going because it makes you feel less alone when there's someone else that's talking about it. So, like, it's so brave of you for
Thank you.
sharing that as well because it takes so much within a person to even speak them words, it's so
Mm,
powerful. So it's as much as I always say that I appreciate, the beautiful words that come from you, I
mm,
also appreciate you sharing yours as well because it makes me know that through this whole journey, even sitting here now on your podcast, it's just given true definition and resilience to so many people, men and women that are going through this.
mm.
And there is light, you know. I speak about things as they are and as they were in the moment. So
Yeah.
when I was enjoying pregnancy or when there was turbulent times or, I put myself back in that moment because although my outcome is so painful, I still appreciate and show gratitude that I got to live them moments.
Yeah.
And I think that's truly important because you don't ever want to lose them feelings or that excitement or that energy that you actually did have for them times.
Mm,
And even when I wrote my book, Loving and Losing You, Azalea,
yeah.
I had to take my mind back to all of them pinpoints. And it weren't easy because at the time I was
Emotion.
drowning
Yeah.
and always remembering them healthy times that
Mm,
were filling you full of goodness. That moment when I seen the pregnancy um, test, a feeling that I can literally put myself there and just remember eh, like it was yesterday.
yeah.
And I think it's so important that we don't overshadow and lose their moments through the grief that we're feeling or the life that we should have lived.
Yeah.
Because it can be very easy for us to get lost in them moments of, I was out yesterday playing with my nephew before he's gone back to school.
Mm,
My nephew Noah, and he's there and he's playing, and inside I'm like, "Ugh, Azalea should be here."
yeah. Yeah.
They would be like Dennis the Menace together, running, causing us havoc. Me and my brother sitting there together, looking at little mini versions of us,
Yeah.
and that is what it makes me feel sad. But that's what I see. I'm like, he shouldn't be playing on his own.
Yeah.
They should be playing together. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the same, it was Azalea's birthday the other day. This month, I haven't even recognized myself. And this is 3 years into grief of losing Azalea. And it
Mm,
just, I've learned to accept that grief has no time limit because it's love with nowhere to go. So pouring pain into purpose is what I have to continue, do you know?
Yeah.
And understanding and accepting early on is so much more healthier for us. And I've not had a stumble where, you know, I've been in denial. I
Mm.
just rejig everything that we taught. You know, people will say to me, you know, like in time, like things will get better, or, you know, like maybe have another child, or, oh, you know, if you did this, then this might help. And I'm like, I am so glad that you don't truly know this feeling.
Yeah.
And I always say that I am so blessed that you don't know this feeling, because people can look
Yeah.
at people down the line of grief and be like, oh my God, that was like years ago.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, you are so lucky you don't know what this feels like in every cell of your body, and
Yeah.
really pray that you never have to feel this.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself on a daily basis, I wake up, I have a routine, I put measures in place. I have to set an alarm. After so long, I was realizing that I can't get out of bed until midday. I just cannot do it. I open my eyes, I go back to sleep. And it's like, you usually have a nightmare and you wake up and you're like, oh, thank God that's not
Yeah.
reality. Waking up every day, as I'm sure you know, you go, wow, I'm living in a nightmare every single day. And when you start understanding that that is now your reality, you're living with a lifetime sentence in your head, continuous, whether that looks like you're going on holiday, you're seeing friends having children, you're seeing relatives and everybody coming together, sharing happy moments together. And you're always there putting on this, I feel emotional,
Yeah.
brave face to be like, because you want to be happy still for everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Like, you're happy for your my nephew. I'm like so happy he's developing and he's going into his next year. And then the next thing in my head is Azaylia would be going into her nursery, or Azaylia should be starting school, or Azaylia should be doing this, or
Yeah.
every single moment
Yeah.
I'm out doing my food shopping. There's prams, people holding babies. I'm like, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
And now I understand why I had to keep myself so protected, why I was so sheltered, you know,
Yeah.
because looking back, I'm like, it used to take me sometimes an hour to get out of the car to go into the supermarket just to go and get some egg and milk,
Yeah.
because I've got baby oils, I've got prams, I've got children screaming, I've got all of these triggers. And it was like getting out, I'd hit a baby straight away.
Mm.
Oh my God. And I'd be like, come on, we can go. I'd get to the first aisle to do something and I'm like, ugh, it's too loud. It was so noisy, all these
Yeah.
nut sounds. I just had to get back to the car, sit there, try again.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? The worst thing I could have done is to go home. I would sit back
Mm.
in that car. And if it took me 5 hours of sitting in Asda's car park, I'm sitting in that car park, because I would find it easier if somebody was with me to go
Yeah.
in and do it. But then there's never always going to be somebody with you, no matter the best family you have, the best friends you have.
Yeah.
You're always going to have your moments where you're alone. And it's, for me, and it's like when I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
I threw myself in the deep end because I needed to survive.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd sit there and I'd go again and I'd get out and I'd put stuff at the side of the aisle. It's so crazy. Like, I always buy Azalea candles, and I'd leave like something near the candles, like the bread, because I knew that I could just go straight back and that bread was there. I didn't have to go and walk now over to the other side of the
Right.
store.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just used to dump it, go back in the car, and then sit there and think, right, okay, go back in. We know where the bread is now. So these are measures that I was starting to put in for myself in the
Yeah.
infancy of grief.
Right.
And then it just got that next time, okay, I now know where the baby oils are. So guess what I'm going to do? It was the sounds last time that were triggering me. I'm now going to put my AirPods in. I'm going to put on a song or a podcast, and I'm going to distract my mind while I'm going to get these things.
Right.
Even if it has to be to the point where I look down in a supermarket, look down, and then we look up, go and get your bread,
Yeah.
go back again and do that. So I'm now starting to put measures in place, which I didn't know existed. You know, I didn't have somebody telling me, Safiyya, when you go and do your shopping, if you're feeling triggered, put AirPods in, put a podcast on while
Yeah.
you're doing your shopping. It's only through me finding my own coping mechanisms have I been able to now get through shopping. Even still now to these days,
Mm.
I have to go down a certain aisle sometimes when I need like some earbuds, and it's the baby. I prefer to use the Johnson's ones. And I'm like, I just won't allow it to get the better of me. You've already got the best of what and took it away.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing you to take any more of me away. And that's how I
She's such a
visualize it.
fighting spirit. I love it. I love it. But it's very real as well. You know, these things that until you're in that you've had the experience, or you're in it, no one would no one would know how much is out there to trigger you, and just the normal everyday things. You know, I remember, I mean, I kind of lost 4 pregnancies, and the third
Oh,
one,
wow. I'm so
the
sorry.
next morning was my nephew's birthday party. And I remember my sister calling me and saying, well, and she did it out of love. She was like, you know, just come anyway. We want to see you. We want to, you know, just be with you. And the thought of being around children and who were celebrating birthdays, and I had just the night before lost my third baby, I was like, no, I cannot put myself in a room full of children. It's too trigger. It's just it's too raw, and it's too. And it took a while for me to be around children, you know, be like comfortable around children again. But
And can I ask you, are you comfortable around children now?
yeah, well, I eventually, every time I lost one, I went down through a dip, and you know, kind of, but then I found ways of bringing myself up. I'd like go on holiday, I'd do little things that just lifted me up. And my husband at the time, he was really supportive, and he was going through it as well. It was kind of both of us, you know, getting through it was like a day at a time, but we managed to get through. And then eventually I had a son and a daughter,
Oh,
and
congratulations.
they, but the journey to having them was what makes me, even now to this day, like, value them so much,
Mm,
because I will never forget those moments, those days, those, you know, those feelings of loss. You feel completely empty, like a shell of a person. What's the point of life? That's that whole, you know, that's how I felt every single time. And now I look at them and just think I am the richest person in the world for having them, because
mm,
it's the thing that, you know, I know what loss is like. And I think it's just taught me to be really grateful. My daughter was the day she was born, she was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And although I didn't actually know what that meant for me in reality and us as a family, my first response to the doctor when he told us was, yeah, but she's alive. Like, to me, I've
yes.
gone through so many, like, I've had to just say goodbye to so many babies. And I was like, she's alive and she's breathing and she's fine, and whatever test she has to go through, she'll go through. But and she was absolutely, she went through everything. She was fine. But there was no doubt in my mind that she, you know, she deserved to live. I was grateful that she was here. And to this day, she brings me, she teaches me so much, because she has such a different outlook on life. And I think, not just children with Down syndrome, but I think children with more different conditions, I think they come with a different, I don't know, it's a different energy and a different
I
frequency and
feel
a
like
different
that,
outlook. And
yeah, it's that love, isn't it? It's like
it's
they
the love. Yeah.
radiate, like they give
Yeah.
you they teach you so much about yourself.
Yeah.
I've got a few people that, you know, I'm in contact with, and I feel like with their children, like I have this ooze of like more love that I
Yeah.
need to. I think it's because you see the bravery, you see the strength within them, and they inspire you, and
Yeah.
you're so blown away with how incredible they are. It
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
gives you, and they're them tools. You know, we always talk about the tools that we need in life to get through. For you now, it's you going through um baby loss, and then having children, and really seeing the true value and meaning of life. I think sometimes it's unfortunate that we have to go through these lessons in life to truly understand the real purpose and the
Yeah.
realness of life. And I appreciate every single day that I get here on this earth, and the measures that I put in place for myself on a daily basis, going back to them, are I put an alarm in place for myself every day because I couldn't get out of bed. And the amount of people that has helped, I just did one story one day. I don't know if it was on my Instagram or my TikTok, and I put like, I have to put this alarm in place.
Yeah.
And it got so many comments underneath it. The amount of people that actually do that have never vocalized that they do
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, how powerful is that? But if it was one person like me that could have shared that, which I did, it could
Mm.
help the person that's literally in the depths of their pain. It don't always need to be grief. It could be relationship breakup. It could be different things that have broke down in your life. It could be a job or whatever it is that's made you in a dark place.
Yeah.
Them tools can help so many people.
Yeah.
I wake up, I put the alarm on. Recently, I've not been able to get out of bed and beat my alarm, but I also give myself credit where it's needed, and I pause. I'm the hardest person on myself because I give myself no excuses. I give myself solutions.
Yeah.
A problem is when your child's being told that there's nothing left that they can do for your child. That is when there's a problem.
Yeah.
A problem to me is that is a problem. When there's different things that come into our steps of life, there's solutions.
Yeah.
So I can't get out of bed. That isn't a problem. There is solutions. There is different methods
Right.
that I can put in place
Yeah.
to get me out. So, and that's how I look at life now. I look at it
Yeah.
as, while we have a solution,
Yeah.
we should be grateful. We have health, we have air
Yeah.
in our lungs, there is a roof over our head, there's food in our stomach, and there is a life out there for us to live.
Mm.
You know, even just taking a shower sometimes on days where you're not feeling great can be really difficult. To
Yeah.
just get out of your pajamas and have a shower can be really, really challenging because you just want to lay in your own pit.
Yeah.
And the alarm would go off, boom, straight into the shower. They're the first two measures that I put in place. I have another one that I've added in more recently, and that is to drink a glass of water to hydrate my mind, to hydrate my body.
Yeah.
So I've actually incorporated another one. So bit by bit, we don't need to do them in a week or 2 weeks. They
No.
might take us a year, 2 years to do these things. I'm on my
Yeah.
third year of grief, and I'm only just incorporating another thing in my daily routine, and I
Mm.
do my prayers. So then 4 things in the morning now that I always do to show gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you for today. Thank you for giving me the chance to continue my daughter's name, to continue helping these children, to even show people that there is light after trauma.
Yeah.
I don't wake up and think, I'm excited today. Like, great. I wake up every day. I'm still in the same cycle. My heart just aches. I bleed inside every single day, but it's the measures I put in place.
Yeah.
I focus so much on work. Work has been my main thing that's really, really helped me through.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps my mind busy.
Yeah.
I talk to people. I've got great family. My brother is my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's my brother, like me and him are so tight. I have my best friend Nikki. I have my mom, my stepdad, my family, and I'm just so grateful that I can spend time with them. Like this bank holiday weekend, I was gonna go out with my friends, gonna just go out and have some time to, but I couldn't. I couldn't do it. This month, I've absolutely tumbled. And I don't even recognize myself this month. Even this morning, I'm like, I have work to do. And I'm like
Yeah.
trying to focus, and I couldn't focus. And I thought, come on, like we need to shift this now. So don't teaching myself not to be hard on myself
Yeah.
is also an act of kindness,
Yes, it
you know?
is.
And
Yeah, it is.
we're so bad at putting ourselves first. And I've had a lot of therapy
Yeah.
and understanding that I would say like, oh, but I'm being selfish if I
Yeah.
go and do this for myself. And I used to look for external validation from other people, and it would play havoc with my head. And I think, oh, but it's been so long now. That person needs to, they're going to think like, oh my God, like she's not carrying on or she's not doing this. And obviously, like I have a platform, I put myself out there, you know, publicly for people to aspire to see that there's light. But then there's also other elements of social media that can be, you know, people are there trying to pull you to pieces.
Yeah.
And, you know, even facing them challenges when all you're trying to do is survive each day, it's more responsibility, more responsibility. And in the end, it was enough is enough.
Yeah.
It's the internal validation that I've truly grasped for. I've
Yeah.
taken that time to really know who I am, really understand and put boundaries in place for myself, truly have different measures where of tolerance from people in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I've never done that before. And I've noticed a big change. And that is something that would rock me before would no longer rock me now,
Yeah.
because I'm so comfortable and know myself so well that no matter what noise I hear, no matter whatever's going on, I truly know my own identity. And it's a really powerful place to be in.
It
And
is. Yeah.
it really is. And especially when you're on a platform where people can be, you know, my relationship was conversated about not long ago. You know, and you know, me and Ashley, we're human. It's the same as anybody else. When you're out there and you're going through your own relationship breakup and you've lost a child and you're founders of your daughter's charity, you know, there's going to be lots of feelings and emotions
Yeah.
and things that you would go through privately. So if anybody's there or listening or watching, you just put yourself in a position where you've had a relationship breakup and then put that on steroids and put it in the media. Imagine
Mm.
the amount that could really destroy you as a
Yeah.
person, you know, feeling embarrassed, humiliated, let down. Like you have all of these things in a general breakup. Like you're questioning yourself, did I
Yeah.
do this or should I have done that? Or you're going to do that continuously. And you know what? When you truly just take that time for yourself,
Yeah.
breathe, step back from it all,
Mm.
just take time to fill your cup back up.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I was pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And I did that for so long to the point where I didn't even recognize myself, to the point now, whereas if I've got an opinion, I'm not afraid to speak it. Whereas I was afraid before.
Yeah.
I was afraid of being judged, or I was afraid to, you know, say something that, oh my God, like somebody may not agree with. Whereas now I truly know my identity as a person. And you know what? It's like we all have difference of opinions and it's
Mm.
healthy. And it just shows us that there's so many different aspects out there. And that's the beauty of life and this
Yeah.
world, that there is different people. Relationships are not going to always work out, and that's okay as well. Sometimes we need to be in relationships that teach us so much and we
Yeah.
can grow from it and we evolved. You know, me and Ashley, we're friends. We're friends. You know, we've gone through so much together, and
Mm.
it's a relationship where for us it will always be family. We're always tied with love and caringness. You know, it's like how
Yeah.
you do, like you don't have to be in love with somebody
No.
to love somebody. You know, like you've got your family, you're not
Yeah.
in love with them, you love them, you love them
Yes.
wholeheartedly. It's a
Yeah.
different kind of love. And listen, we might have arguments further down the line, but
Yeah.
is that normal? Absolutely, it's normal. We're just human. And sometimes we're just going to face things in the public eye because we are out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's what we do as individuals and the growth that we take internally to show that this is normal and it is okay.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, Ashley's had another child.
Yeah.
You know, that's that was a very, very difficult thing for me to sit on the side and experience, as well as his own feelings as well
Mm,
of going through, becoming a parent again.
yeah,
And, he's had he's got his own story and his own journey to tell in
yeah,
that department, but I only speak for me.
yeah,
And that for me was something that I found incredibly painful, incredibly difficult. I've
yeah,
voiced that. And listen, if I was to sit here and say, oh no, like that's okay, I'm going to be sitting here not telling the truth. And
yeah,
I don't do that. Like, I'm raw in every moment of my life. I'm raw and I'm real. If something's
yeah,
hurting and I'm finding it difficult, I'm going to say, because the next person that would sit there would tell me I am unhuman if I didn't have any feeling
of
towards
course.
that.
Yeah,
But the beauty out of it is we are still friends. We have got an amazing and will have an amazing legacy for our daughter, and we will continue. And it's about turning your pain, no matter what part of life you're going through, into beauty and kindness.
yeah,
When you're hurting and you're in pain, you want to elevate and execute anger. You want to shout, you want to cuss, you want to
yeah,
do all of these things because we're human. We're going to feel these feelings, even if they're just initial emotions,
yeah,
we're going to feel them. It's how we let them sit back, surround yourself with healthy people,
yeah,
not people that want to cause more disruption and more fireworks, even if that means you removing yourself from everybody.
mm,
Sit with yourself, sit with your own thoughts and feelings, cry it out, scream it out if you need to. And then you come back and you
yeah,
show up of the person that you are. Don't let anybody change your identity by the way that they treat you or how, as well, you treat other people. Because I'm not sitting here saying that I'm um, squeaky clean. And I think that's really important as well.
mm,
Like I have um had so much therapy to really truly speak it out with my therapist to say, I'm getting so angry here, or
yeah,
I'm lashing out here, or I can't control my feelings or my emotions because I'm in so much pain. And that's also normal. And it's learning how to be kind to yourself and say that it's okay to
yeah,
lash out. It's okay. Let's see what you are going through.
yeah,
It's excusable. We just need to have healthy habits in place to just lure
yeah,
you back into a place. And I always say to anybody, don't ever feel guilty for lashing out um, uncontrollably. These are big feelings,
yeah,
big emotions that as humans, we don't know where to execute and pour
yeah,
that into. I've learned now to pour all of my anger and turn it into purpose and kindness. And it's helped me when I feel angry. Even when I was just before I came here, I've gone down to do Azalea's garden. I'm like, I should be passing her to a family member.
yeah,
Like, what am I doing here? And I feel angry about that
mm,
feeling. And I could imagine somebody at the lights bibbing at you. You can easily say,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
whatever you want to, because you're in that moment of
yeah,
yourself. But it's then learning how to translate that into kindness is what I've tried to start doing. Turn anger into kindness, turn anger into love, turn anger, frustration into elevating yourself and being successful.
yeah. So you're actually transmuting energy. That's what you're doing without realizing. You're kind of turning one emotion into something else and physically kind of making that happen. But do you know, a lot of what you've said, it resonates with me so much. I've been through my own stuff, and one of the big things that I learned was a lot about self-love. And I think growing up, I think a lot of us actually we're kind of we hear a lot about, oh, people, that person would do everything for everyone else. They're so kind. And I'm not saying that's not kind, but I don't think we're necessarily taught the balance that we need in life of self-love versus like giving to others. And when you're a giver, and you are a giver, and I would, I think you really sometimes you have to go through tough things to realize that, you actually need to be the best version of yourself. You need to have your cup full, not just full, overflowing before you're giving to others, because that's when you can give the best of you. The minute you become depleted in every way, like whether it's physical energy, emotionally, whatever way it may be, that's when you're giving a version of yourself that it isn't really beneficial for anyone. And I a few years ago, I separated from my husband, and we it was a difficult time. It took a long time for the children and me to sort of get into a
A
the
new
new way of
normal.
life, a
Yeah.
new normal. And along the way, I realized, I mean, there was so much anger at the start, and I won't deny that. I came out of it to be, uh, there was a lot of domestic abuse, mental, emotional, physical. So it was, when I came out of it, I was still in survival mode, and I became angry very quickly because I didn't realize, I didn't actually, it's hard to describe, but I didn't see it
Process.
as
Yeah.
abuse,
Yeah.
if I'm honest, until about 6 months before I actually got out. And the reason it took me 6 months to get out was because, and this is the silly thing about it for me, I look back and think, "How did I not know this?" But everything around me was controlled, and, like my phone, what was on my phone, a lot of it could be seen because it was on there's pros and cons to technology, isn't there? And a Ring doorbell, I was being watched through that, I was being tracked through the car tracker. The only place I was free was when I was at work, but I worked from home quite often. So it was very hard for me to try to actually get out. And but once I did, I then became angry really quickly because I realized how manipulated I'd become, or and how much my mind had kind of just, I don't know, I guess I'd allowed it in, I'd allowed sort of a very skewed perception of myself because of someone who was around me who I trusted, but they were projecting a very unhealthy sort of attitude and opinions of me. So I felt like I'm not, again, I'm not perfect, but I felt like I gave from a pure place. And what I realized I got back was a lot of deceit and manipulation and control. Um, Not all of our relationship was like that. There was a lot of happy moments, especially at the start, but eventually it started to change. And but I just kept giving. I kept giving, and I kept giving, and I kept giving chances. I kept giving my energy, my time, my love, just everything. And I became really ill, like physically, my body. I had my daughter, and then 6 weeks later, I couldn't move. I literally couldn't even stand up. I was in agony, all my joints seized up, nothing would move. And at the time, I didn't realize what it was. I was just told it was sort of rheumatoid arthritis, a very severe form of it, because I'd had a baby. My body had just done something. But what it was suppressed emotions and fear and anxiety over the course of 10, 11 years
Wow.
that had
Is that how long
just,
you two were
well,
together for?
I was in the relationship for longer, but at that point in time, I'd just had my daughter, and because she had Down syndrome, and then I came down with my condition, I couldn't, there physically, there was no way. I mean, she was like 4 pounds, like a bag of sugar.
Oh, bless
I couldn't even
her.
hold her. I had to wear splints on my arms
Oh,
and stuff. So it became a situation where I just had to survive. So I would wake up, and as much as, and I've shared how grateful I was for my children, but about a year later, I was convinced that the best thing for me to do was to end my life, because I was such a burden on everyone. I was such a letdown. Like that's where I'd got to. Partly that was projected onto me, but also I was, when your body's in pain, your emotions are everywhere.
yeah.
So I just sort of shut down, and I planned it all, and I was, I was like 2 days away from doing it, and then I see it as sort of an divine intervention, really. I had a phone call from someone. They didn't know anything. I hadn't said what was going on for me, but they happened to say the right words, and it just hit in the right place and gave me a sense of value or purpose, and they said, "You're a good mom, and, your children need you. You've been through a lot." And it was, at the time, it was obviously just the perfect words. And it was the word, it was the sentiments and the words that I needed to hear from my husband, who wasn't giving that to me. So it, it was kind of lucky, luck and intervention, I see it as. And it turned my attitude around straight away. And that's when I realized how much I was being kind of, my mind was being controlled and manipulated, and how I needed to take control of that again, and not listen to him or anyone who was going to project really unhealthy words and, feelings onto me. So I then, in silence for the next almost 5 years, kind of emotionally built myself up, mentally built myself back up. And when I was physically in a position, because my health deteriorated and I had to have surgery on my knees, I had to have my hip replaced. This was like just after COVID. Once I got the green light for those operations, that for me was, it wasn't just a green light for my body, it was a green light for, you're doing this and you're getting out. Somehow you're gonna get out of this. And I did. And it didn't happen straight away. I had to plan it, because it was really, I I was so monitored, I was so watched
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
But
You should
um
feel so proud that,
thank you.
like, I'm so grateful that you're still here, that we're both still here, actually.
Yeah,
Like, having suicidal thoughts is not a joke. And, even you just touching on that and speaking it, it just like, it's hit me in so many different ways of them times where I've been in the car and I've just wanted to keep on driving, like into a wall. And whatever them thoughts are in my
yeah,
head, and I'm just so grateful that you had that conversation with whoever it was that really hit home. And projecting kindness, you truly do not understand what someone is going through in their day, and sharing them kind words, sharing that love, just to even if that person knows it, even just telling them again, sometimes you need to hear it,
yeah,
because you don't know what space anybody is in. And I think, like, it's a really good thing that you just spoke about that, because
yeah,
somebody could be listening to this now, and this could be a sign for somebody to stay here. You need to stay here. It's
yeah,
not your time.
yeah,
God decides when your time is.
yeah,
And even just you having this podcast here and us sharing these words and both of our journeys just truly elevates what your purpose is here on earth. You've got directions in what you're going through, and what you've gone through is absolutely horrific. But to know that you're here making changes, inviting me on to share my voice. And sometimes we need, people haven't got somebody to talk to. In
yeah,
domestic, I went through a domestic relationship prior to Ashley. And that was 4 years of abuse that I didn't see, even though it was happening.
yeah, yeah,
Even physical abuse, I didn't see. I just thought it was normal in the end.
yeah,
And it's a horrific place to be in. And now being in a place of calmness and peace I'm not rushing to get into any relationship. I get asked all the time, and I don't know what circumstances you're in right now, but for me and relationships and going through domestic relationships, I went through a beautiful relationship with Ashley.
mm,
Obviously, it didn't, end up the way we wanted it to be, but there's still a beautiful connection and a bond that we
yeah,
still got with each other. And, the next relationships are like, the question gets asked for me all the
yeah,
time: Safiyya, have you found anybody?
yeah,
Um, is it this? Is it that? Like, I've been single for a little while now. And for me, it's about not rushing to get into a
mm,
relationship with somebody else. You know what? I give so much to a relationship that I end up losing myself.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
it's such a beautiful place to see you in now.
yeah,
elevating, radiating, creating these podcasts, and, for me, in a place where it's calm and it's
Yeah.
peaceful. Like, I haven't been in a place where it's been peaceful for a very, very long time, even though we can still carry our traumas.
Yeah.
It's about not rushing. Find yourself,
Yeah.
find your peace, find your balance, find what you want as well. Because sometimes, even when you come out of a relationship, I'm sure
Mm.
you've also found this, you truly start to know what you like yourself. Even food
Yeah.
shopping, something
Yeah.
as silly as,
Yeah.
even when it was me and Ashley were no longer like living together, it's like, oh, like, well, what do I want?
Yeah.
Or what do I need? What do I need? What do I want? It was always prioritizing somebody else,
Yeah.
and we do that as women anyway. It's just a natural
Yeah.
thing that we do. But taking that time to sit with yourself, sit with your feelings and emotions, it's a powerful place to be.
Yeah.
We do so much for me as well. Um, I've never, people ask me regularly, like, what did you ever take any medication? Or antidepressants for after losing
Mm.
Azaylia and obviously everything that I've gone through. And I didn't, but that doesn't mean that the next person may not need to or may
Yeah.
need to. I always say you have to do what you wanted to do
Mm.
yourself. For me, even though I was scared for my own life of like having suicidal thoughts, for me, it was that next wave of strength that I needed to get through. I didn't want to suppress my feelings and my love for my daughter, even though,
Yeah.
you know, even though obviously then it was a relationship breakup and then 20
Mm.
million things on top of that I
Yeah.
was feeling. I never turned to that because I needed to feel the feelings. It's so easy to go to a GP and for them to prescribe us medication and suppress. And
Yeah.
then suddenly that dose gets higher.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that dose gets higher. And then it gets to a point where you are a drone of yourself and you no longer feel, you no longer can function and feel emotions and feelings the way we should do.
Mm.
And I always kind of think that I've got friends and some people that have also taken antidepressants and it's really helped them, so I've seen the
Mm.
positive, what it actually does as well,
Yeah.
temporary measures where they're actually focused. I'm going to do it for this long and then I'm going to put measures in place,
Yeah.
and it's really helped them. And for me, I was scared to take them because I didn't want to, I knew that I would end up becoming addictive
Yeah.
and then needing that, or oh my god, I'm starting to feel them feelings,
Yeah.
doctor, like I can't function today because I'm now feeling this. It's okay, we're going to give you a higher dose.
Yeah.
I was s- I was that for me felt suicidal too.
Yeah.
I
In a
felt like
different
that was
way. Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
me losing my life now.
Yeah.
I've already lost my daughters and the pain I'm going through,
Yeah.
and I'm just about to go and lose my own through a different method. So I'd seen both sides as suicide for me,
Yeah.
that I was
You
just going
wanted
to
to
lose
feel.
me,
Yeah.
and sitting in them places, finding new healthy coping mechanisms. Even if it's your podcast,
Mm.
this could be a healthy coping mechanism for somebody to listen to tune in, to really explore different options in
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
it's so good that you're doing this.
Thank you. I think for me, when I came out of it all and once I really started to do really focus on myself, and I realized that um yeah, I had given, I'd given a lot, but I didn't know how to pour into myself at first, and I
It's
just
difficult,
turned
isn't
it's
it?
when you don't do it, you don't know. But then the way I did it, I realized that there was some things I was doing sort of mentally, emotionally, physically to look after myself. And with the children and stuff, there's only so much time I felt I had for myself. But it was when they went to sleep was I felt like, because they were with me, so I felt like, oh, this is the time I can truly relax because I know they're safe and well. The day's done. And that was my time to relax. And so I started to just do some guided meditations, and I turned to Reiki, which is something I'd learned over time. And I became a Reiki master just before I had my daughter, but I never then did anything with it because life did
Yeah.
its thing. So I realized that to get to that next stage of my the healing that I needed, and I didn't know what it looked like or felt like, but, I just knew I had to kind of, move forward, I had to go inside. It was that sort of,
Yeah, it's internal.
inner inner
It's like
healing
parking
for
yourself
yourself.
up. I
Yeah.
use that word. It's like really,
Yeah.
you need to sit in the dark,
Yeah.
reevaluate everything,
Yeah.
and then you can go again.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
in that whole period of time, I realized I learned so much actually, and I am grateful for it because I learned that I didn't have proper boundaries in place. So I learned, what healthy boundaries looked like for the people who were around me that I late some were obvious, some not, realized they weren't great or didn't really have my best interests at heart, or um, I just had to find a way to kind of work with them, around them. So putting proper boundaries in place, thinking about my own sort of self-limiting beliefs. So, you talk about sometimes you get in your own way or you kind of talk yourself out of something. And I was doing a lot of that because I'd learned to suppress so much within me when I was in that relationship. I was trying to protect myself, I think I realized. So there was so much I didn't say, there was so much I didn't do. There were people I looked fine to people on the outside because I kind of had no choice but to look okay because there would be consequences if I let anything on. So I'd learned to kind of put that mask on. So it was then demasking, kind of
Mm.
just going, I'm having a really rubbish day today, or I'm feeling, or whatever it might be.
Do you not feel like in that moment, because I speak quite a lot about this putting a mask on and putting,
Yeah.
do you feel like when you put that mask on, that people won't think that you're weak? Because
Yeah.
like I feel like that, and
Yeah.
it's just, I'm asking you that question because it's something that I like to ask people.
Yeah. I I naturally, I'm quite like a bubbly, sociable person. So it was kind of a mixture of things. I was wearing a mask, but I was also turning to who I really was,
Mm.
in the safety of other people. So I felt like I couldn't be who I was when I was in close quarters in my home, in the place where you are supposed to be able to be who
Yeah.
you are. So I then turned to who I truly was when there were people around, because that safety net was there. And I also knew that he expected me to show that side of him. So show that side of me. So it was kind of twofold, and it was
Mm.
a messed up twofold, because I can't say I was fully being me. If I was fully being me, I'd be talking about what happened the day before, or the last incident, or, and trying to get help for it. So it was a mask because I wasn't being who I was. I wasn't truly, but then I couldn't see it either. I couldn't see that, and this is the dangerous part of it. I think when you're in, the physical side to abuse it's obvious, right? But even then, people can make if
Blame
they
you.
have
They
a
blame you
way
as
of
well.
getting through to your mind, they can talk you out of thinking that that's abuse.
Yeah.
So,
Or it's because you did this, or
yeah,
like, if you
or
didn't do that, then I wouldn't have done that. And then you
yeah,
just feel like, yeah, well, true. If I didn't do that, then they wouldn't have done that. So like
yeah,
next time
and you
I
blame
should think
yourself.
about like the way I like deliver that. It's not that way. But
Yeah,
really, you should be able to do and be whatever you want to be without
yeah.
somebody doing anything.
Yeah, so start to blame, you start to kind of take on it's their action, but you take the responsibility for it. So I started to do that over time. So every time it would happen, I would blame me and think, well, it was my fault, so just forget it, sort of thing. And it clearly wasn't, but that's how, you mentally you kind of get into that place. And then so the whole thing, like, unmasking, and actually, there were days where I didn't wear makeup. I was, because before I was, every morning I would get up, look crisp, because that was part of my masking, that I'd put my makeup on, do my hair, all of that. I'd put my nice clothes on, make sure I looked good, because that was the only thing I could do.
Mm.
And then I went through a phase of being in my joggers and just hair, no makeup, because that felt freeing. And when I came out of this, all I wanted was freedom, safety, safety for me and my children, and peace. Like
Mm.
I wasn't I wasn't chasing money. I wasn't even that bothered about who was right and who was wrong and all of that
You get
pettiness because
tired of it, I
I
bet you
knew what
was.
had happened and I knew, for me, I knew my truth. And I also was open to hearing people kind of talk to me about certain things that maybe I should have done at the time or how I could have handled something differently. So it wasn't that I was just completely shut down and it was, it was kind of all about me. But I all I wanted was that peace, safety, and freedom. That was
Mm.
and
And you
I
deserve that
still,
as well.
yeah,
And
and I still value that,
yeah,
over and above anything.
anybody that's out there deserves freedom, safety, and protection. And
Yeah,
if anybody is in a place where they don't feel that, they're like big alarm bells.
yeah,
If you're not feeling safe, and I'm sure I knew at the time, like when your anxiety and your heart's just racing
yeah,
and you feel scared and you think like, oh my God, like what's going to happen next? Or where's that next outburst going to come from?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
always jittery and you're on edge,
yeah,
and that's not a place to be in. Like when you are on eggshells, and even if it's not physical,
mm,
mental abuse
mm,
can last way longer than a bruise.
yeah,
And it's something I'm still unpicking behaviors that and things that I put in place with my therapist now at this point where I'm
yeah,
like, oh my God, I do that because of that. That's
yeah,
what happened then. Like, why am I still doing it now? Like, I've been out of that for God for a long, long time,
yeah,
but we still do, and it's a really difficult thing, isn't it,
yeah.
to unpick them
There's so
behaviors.
many little, like for me, it's things like, I mean, the things would erupt over how I hung clothes out to dry or the dishes. And it was like the sometimes big stuff, sometimes the tiny
Mm.
things, but those tiny everyday things
Yeah, they're great on
stay with
you.
you. They
Yeah, they
stay with
do.
you. So I have ways, even now, how I stack dishes and think, oh my God, I've not done it. And then I remind myself it doesn't matter. Or I hang clothes out to dry. And actually, if they're not perfect, it doesn't matter. And, it's things like that, you kind of it stays with
Yeah,
you
yeah,
until
it ends up
you
making you feel
kind
like
of
dehumanized. Like it just
yes,
makes you
yeah.
feel like you're not good enough, and you are. And are you in a place now where you're calm?
Yeah, I
Ah,
feel like I've really, like you say, I filled my cup. I connected to myself. I kind of did that emotional, mental, physical, but sort of spiritual, like healing for my spirit. I kind of really know who I am. And I've found my own kind of ways and practices that I keep up with every day to kind of stay centered and um in my own power, really. I think that's the thing. I throughout that period of time, I went into it really happy, really kind of knowing myself. I was young, but I was kind of in a good place. To not knowing myself, I felt completely mentally, emotionally, physically broken. I couldn't for a long time I couldn't even move my body. So over time, my physical health has got better.
amazing.
My mental health, the children seem happier. They've adjusted to kind of,
Oh.
the new norms.
And that's a big thing as well, making sure your children are happy as
Yeah,
well, and they're in a place of, you know, calmness and in a protected,
yeah,
safety where everything feels comfortable and everything
yeah,
feels nice. And there's just so much to say, we're all walking this lifeline. And
yeah,
it's not easy for so many of us. And I always say, when anybody comes up to me and says, like, oh my God, like you're so amazing, you do this, you do that, and thank you for helping me. Even today, that could have happened. Whatever it
yeah,
is, it must be. You know what? We're all helping each other. And that's what it is. Some of us have a platform where we're heard a little bit louder,
yeah,
but as long as we're all on them platforms and we're speaking and showing people the right ways in life. And
yeah,
you know what? Talking about things that are uncomfortable topics, uncomfortable subjects, things that a lot of generations before used to just hide
yeah,
and put to
yeah,
bed, and you would never know the stories. And you know what? now so many of us are speaking up and sharing our voices and sharing our paths of life, it's actually becoming better for our mental health. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that, I've God, Azalea, my hero, is giving me them inspirations on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think life is as much about learning and growing as an individual, because we are all different and we all come with our, I guess, our lessons to learn, but it's also very much about helping each other. And I've seen, the power of you and the power of many out there through using their voice, their platforms. And I just think it's so important, because you just never know who's watching, who might be watching out there, that just needs to hear that one word or that one, um
You are enough, is what
yeah,
I
you
say.
are
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, just hearing that, and also just never give up on yourself. I that was the one thing big thing I took away. I almost nearly did give up on myself, but it was based on completely false premise. It wasn't actually how I felt, but it became the thing I told myself or I heard a lot. So it that sort of filtered into my mind. Luckily, I didn't give up on myself, and I just think if you just tell yourself on those low days, you're not giving up, whatever happens, even if you don't do the thing you plan to do,
I always
just like
say,
you,
do you know what?
just
Go and
like,
sit down,
yeah,
get yourself a blanket, put your
yeah,
pajamas on, and you know what? Just eat loads of snacks
yeah,
and comfort eat. That's what I did for so long. I
yeah,
comfort ate for so long, to the point where, like, I didn't even recognize myself. I gained so much weight, but even looking back on them pictures now, I've now created healthy habits and healthy
yeah,
things in line, and I've lost so much of that weight. But looking back on them pictures now of myself, I want to go and give myself a hug and to
mm,
say, it is okay. Eat them snacks, eat whatever it is. If you need to comfort eat, do them
yeah,
things. And you know what? In time, we can progress and get better.
yeah, for
We
sure,
can, anybody can. And
yeah,
there is always light for every single person. And in the dark, you don't see it. There was no light that was peeping through for me after Azalea had passed, other than the signs that God was showing me, the rainbows I was seeing,
yeah,
the feathers that were landing on me, and the little ladybirds. And they keep me going now,
yeah.
Without them little signs, I don't get the best out of my days. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to share my voice on your podcast. And I wish you like all the best. I'll be tuning into them as well to
Thank you,
to really
thank
follow
you.
your journey. You've really inspired me as well. And as much as you've invited me on here,
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure to listen to your story as well. And I say, even if you come across somebody, give that person 10 minutes, because you truly shouldn't be judging. We are humans. We
yeah,
judge instantly,
yeah.
but give that person 10 minutes and conversate with them, because that 10 minutes could really truly change your perception of somebody.
Thank you. Wise words. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. It's been
Thank you.
wonderful.